The black light, true light, is often mentioned yet not understood, as it connects the physical body to the spiritual body. It shines into the darkness of the universe and earth, yet the average member of humanity does not comprehend the composition and structure of the body, nor the black light. Now, whenever light rays leave the sun or your stereo, they travel through space, which is also composed of energy, until it comes in contact with your skin melanin. Sound waves are a form of energy, light, just moving at a slower speed, so as this happens, the melanin, which has an internal reaction system, stores this energy in the bone marrow of members of humanity in varying degrees of genetic potency in the form of sun heat genes, and reflects only small amounts of this energy from itself. The Book of Creation and before 1:133-34, O Sustainer, as your heavenly hosts, our hearts are fixed towards praising you and glorifying your works, whereby we teach humanity that light is further defined and logged based off of its wavelengths, which is the measure of the distance from one peak or top of a wave of light or energy to another, with cosmic rays being the shortest and the longest being electric power. Between the two are gamma rays, which is electronic radiation brought forth from radioactive decay, that range from 10,000 to 10 million electron volts, X-rays, which is a relatively high energy photon, or amount of electronic energy used for penetration power. Also, ultraviolet light rays, which are a range of invisible radiation varying from 4 nanometers to 380 nanometers, and for this reason just beyond the color violet there is the visible spectrum. Infrared light rays, a range of invisible radiation bordering along microwaves about 750 nanometers. This happens as microwaves are high-frequency electromagnetic waves which measure 1 millimeter to 1 meter in length. Next in order of descension there are television waves, which allow for the transferring of visual images and sound using electromagnetic waves, along with a reconversion of received waves producing visual images, radio waves and wireless transmissions through space with a frequency of 10 kHz to 300,000 MHz, and electric power coming from the reaction of attraction and repulsion of respectively unalike and alike protons and electrons, which actually attracts one another. The Tamarayan, ancient African, symbol of the primordial fireball or black dot, which is the symbol of the iris and birth. It birthed and shows the three forms of black light when it becomes the Tamaraic, language of the ancient Africans, symbol of the letter A, which symbolizes the original triad of Re, Autumn Ray, Atun Ray, and Amun Ray, especially since both they and their students used these three forms of black light in countless experiments. Thus A also came to symbolize the triple darkness of all atoms, whether potential energy, chemical energy, cellular energy, or the three types of cosmic rays, which are UV rays, gamma rays and X-rays, which when they manifest in cellular, as well as chemical energy are logged under 1, proton, 2, neutron, and 3, electron. These three types of cosmic rays each come in three wavelengths, being alpha waves, gamma waves and beta waves, the three hands or triad of Ray, called Father, inclusive of Blessed Mother, Son and Holy Soul. Autumn ray's color is violet, as in ultraviolet rays. Atun ray is the high point of the sun, thus the gamma rays, or high guardian or high god, which is geometry, geology etc., especially since the most energetic wavelength of electromagnetic radiation is gamma rays. Amun ray means the hidden one, just as X equals the unknown or hidden, as in X-rays. Cosmic equals cosmos equals celestial energy, centripetal, 3 rays, who are masculine polarities. Earth energy, centrifugal, equals feminine. Even the Greek word alpha is taken from aleph, where the E is removed from the center and placed as a vowel at the end, showing its root is taken from the Tamaraic, ancient African language, name of the first letter. Let us also bring to your memory, the reality which teaches all members of humanity of how color and visible light function. What we are speaking about is the fact that when you look at the shadow hour sky, you actually see slight differences in the colors of the stars. For example, when you view Betelgeuse, the bright star in the shoulder of the Sahu, Orion, constellation, it appears reddish, whereas Rigel, the star in the heel of Sahu, Orion, looks bluish-white. The reason for this is that like hot objects on Earth, a star's colors reveal its temperature. To better understand why this happens, you could simply watch a toaster heat up, causing the wires to glow red hot, yet the wires inside of a light bulb are even hotter, thereby they glow white. In this same manner, the coolest stars with a surface temperature around 3200 C appear to give off a reddish glow. However, those with a surface temperature of about 5800 C, like our planet's sun, appear to give off a yellowish glow, while the hottest stars in the universe, which are over 20,000 C, appear to give off a bluish glow. The Book of Creation and before 1:119, those amongst you who seek atonement, must hold fast to the reality that pure living ether is conscious, simply aware, alert, mindful and cognizant, along with conscience, simply possessing principles, ethics and a sense of right and wrong, gases with whom Nubian melaninites, the original woolly-haired, dark-hued melanin-dominant beings manifested and grew alongside of, during the original creation of the universe. As such, pure living ether is the identical type of ether forces that grew the universe, which occurred because as all aspects and components of nature, called nature, was growing, developing and manifesting. These Nubian melaninites were a component of that original growth. Thus, melanin grew with original creation, which should be understood in this way: to manifest and grow alongside of a thing is to grow by way of or be contained by it. Yet being the inverse of pure living ether, impure dissipating ether, are 9 points or positions from ether 1 into the darkness or obscurity of the etheric realm. Yet, original Nubian melaninites did manifest from point 1 in hydrogen on into 9 elements: helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen and the 8th being oxygen, which is necessary for life, Heya, by way of the divine breath, processed through the act of inhaling simply, taking in life, and the 9th fluorine. Therefore the dot called Nagut, is the point of origin of things, simply the first sum, calculation or summation of things in the 3 subdivided greater realms, namely, gaseous realm, liquid energy realm, and physical realm. These sun heat genes charged with the black light is that which birthed melaninites, and are in actuality solar batteries that are being charged by the solar plexus, as well as other electrical charges, thus it captures all energy. The result is that humanity's battery, melanin, has more energy to utilize for metabolism, and your ability to memorize is increased, which aids in making the brain a supercomputer. The Book of Creation and before 1:1:15 in part, Anae Ray made known that original or primary creation, growth, was performed by pure ether beings, simply those that are energy beings called Etherians, that do personify or incarnate into flesh and blood, at which time they are called Netaru, thrones or watchers. Their universal and natural scientific ways came to be called Tamarayan, ancient African, precepts, rites and rituals, which work to prove and validate why pure living ether represents birth, conception and growth, as in 9 and birth, or the sum total of numbers, basically 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 equals 45, where 4 plus 5 equals 9. For this reason, we guardian angelic hosts, as Al-Kami, teach all that there are no numbers actually higher than 9. As such, original Tamarayan, ancient African, rites, rituals, precepts and true spiritual practices seek always to convey a message that brings about a reverberation of correct ways of thinking for all members of humanity. Thus there must be a communicator and a listener of the message, which is life, Heya. Simply put, all that exists seeks to live and promulgate itself in order to reach a state of stability or balancement, whereby perfection. So is the message is life, the communicator of the message is existence, which comes about by way of the 3 sets of 3, or triple darkness. First set, before light, before energy, before matter, all space. Second set, before time, before space, before place, all time. Third set, before body, before soul, before spirit, all matter. Ancient Africans in Egypt and all along the Nile River and throughout Africa had knowledge of electricity at the very least from interactions with electric eels, electric rays, electric torpedo fish, and other electric fish and aquatic creatures, called Nun in Hebrew, which is a reference to the primordial waters called Nun in Egypt, who they referred to as thunderers of the Nile and protectors of other fish. Images from the Temple of Dendera in Egypt show what appears to be electrical technology in the form of light bulbs being held up and supported by stable died pillars. These Egyptian hieroglyphics, images, and symbols are no different from modern electronic symbols, in that they are used to represent and symbolize electronic components in an electronic circuit schematic or diagram. The images from the Temple of Dendera have a dual functionality, serving both a real practical, operative or exoteric, purpose, as well as a symbolic, speculative or esoteric, purpose. In reality, the ancient Egyptian symbol of the Died pillar can be used as a real source of electricity, from which light can be obtained. Esoterically, the Died pillar is a symbol of stability, or DC voltage in modem electrical terms, supporting a serpent or electric eel, Nun, which is a symbol for variability or waves, or AC in modern electrical terms, being projected from a lotus flower as light, which is a symbol of knowledge. The lotus flower is significant because it is an aquatic plant whose seeds, in this case light or knowledge about light, or electromagnetism and electricity, can remain viable for hundreds of years, and eventually rise from the muck and mire, and blossom at the surface of the water, symbolizing rebirth and renewal. The image from the Temple of Dendera shows that electricity was used in ancient Africa to produce both literal and metaphorical light, and now the seeds from ancient Africa have risen from the muck and mire, through hundreds of years of confusion and deception to renew and reclaim African electrical science and technology for the African elite and elect. Jesus was born, the real one, on April 17, 6 AD. He was actually born on the way to Egypt. During this time, the land of Egypt covered much land from conquests. That is why you can find an Egyptian temple such as Sarabat-el-Khadim, an Egyptian temple in a cave. It belonged to Hadit, that most call Hathor. Others say he was born in Bethlehem according to them, around 29 to 30 AD. Jesus would have been 33 years of age at the crucifixion. Now Jesus had two souls and two spirits, what he was born with, and what he received from Gabriel, and what he received from the Most High after being baptized by John in the Jordan. Now during the crucifixion, Jesus called out, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? The Spirit from God had to depart from Jesus because he had to die. So he had to give up eternal life. After the crucifixion in the book of Acts, 2 of his disciples saw him in a transfigured state. And this was also noted in the book of John 20-21. After the crucifixion, Jesus is now a man, yet still had the spirit from the time traveler or angel Gabriel. When the guards came to arrest Jesus, he said, I am he, and because he was in an illuminated state, they fell to the ground. Later, a fight broke out and people scattered. Jesus eventually went to court, and they were telling him who he was, and Jesus told them, I am from above. The word used in that quote in the Greek is ano, which is Anu, in Sumeria, the Most High deity. So in essence, he was telling you about the Spirit of the Most High, and the fact he is not from earth. You see, Jesus was also tested after he was baptized, and then went into the wilderness where he was tested by the devil and doubts. So if you have a spirit in you, and then have a voice that always had you questioning, not to know, yet to constantly cause doubt, you have to realize that's the devil. So once that Spirit of God left Jesus, he died, and that being ascended. Yet because Jesus had a portion he received from Gabriel, he was raised back to life. The disciples knew he was brought back to life, and Mary Magdalene, as his wife, she would naturally want to hug him. He said, No, I have not ascended, yet tell them I have. He met 2 disciples while in the water and said, Come see the others in the upper room, asking for meat. He was still in a transfigured state. The Trinity in Tamarayan, ancient African, culture is all space, all matter, and all time, because these 3 states of existence comprise, constitute and generate everything, so much so that in the all supplication which are taught to say as such, I am in all, and all is in me, you are acknowledging this precept of triple darkness or the true Trinity, because you are made and composed of all, elements, chemicals, gases, being made up of the 99 plus 1 natural elements, and all, gases, elements, chemicals, are a part of you, being your cells are a replica of the solar system, galaxy and universe. Thus, Greco-Roman teachings and beliefs is the manifestation in flesh of ghost, which are conscious yet unconscious gases, that have no sun heat genes left within their formula, genetic encodement, thereby it is pale, colorless and labeled by them as being white in color, as if it is a good thing, which it is not, because of course, white is the last stage of color, as ghost and its posterity who reside amongst many members of humanity, such as those amongst the Caucasus family, are the last stage of evolution. The Book of Ghost Ether 1012 327-329, because Nubians had black or brown skin and woolly hair from the original creation, before this planet Earth, and black skin provides the best protection against exposure and disease, and woolly hair means that the sun genes, the genes of life, are much stronger in woolly-haired people. The Book of the Anti-Kharos 615-161, Enoshites will have the brain of an electromagnetic computer, and will be forced to adapt to an enlarged electromagnetic spectrum. It is a fact that your melanin gets this charge of energy from your surroundings, which means that you as a melanin-dominant person can charge up just by being in the sun or around the right type of musical sounds, and other energy sources which will help you develop the higher senses. Also, remember light in its many forms is a form of nutrition for Nubian melaninites. On the microscopic level, melanin molecules go through what is called resonance. Now what is resonance, you ask? Resonance is simply the ability of something or person to move back and forth at a certain rate or speed in space and time. It is done by the voice, instruments, etc., which echoes, thereby filling a place with sound-producing sensations, which stimulate the very nerve fibers of the body, and causes all of us as members of humanity in varying degrees of genetic potency to perceive what unconscious people often cannot. This is because resonance rearranges the electrons in your body, and causes these electrons to be able to hold more energy as they vibrate within the melanin molecules. As such, by way of resonance, information is transmitted through the galaxy and processed by our solar system, and since the genetic code of members of humanity is a resonant circuit, it actually parallels the movements of the celestial bodies. The Book of the Anti-Kharast 615-169-172, new astromutations will take place, where new magnetic lines bring about the balances in the energy coupling, from a proton-electron-proton grid, to an electron-proton-electron grid. Here, the bioenergy field of the body inherits a new electron and positron pair, and the blood circulatory system inherits new magnetic lines of force. The ionized field around the blood cell loses its proton-electron-proton relationship to a new electron-proton-electron field, as the life form is moved into the next phase of the electromagnetic spectrum. In other words, Enoshites will be able to participate in higher evolutionary worlds, because his hemoglobin chain will shift with his phylogenetic tree to a new system of balance, whereby a singular group. Thereby, your sun heat genes, of which melanin is a product, is charged and activated by various forms of electromagnetic energy, such as sound, radio, TV waves, microwaves, thermal heat, radiation, visible light, X-rays, UV and gamma rays, which all fall under cosmic rays, as well as the Earth's own magnetic energy, so much so that when your melanin is charged and absorbs energy, it stores this energy and passes it to other cells in the body, allowing these other cells to change and regenerate themselves. The Book of the Anti-Kharast of 615-154-163, this is forcing the species to leave behind its old-time cell of perception on the physical, emotional, mental and spiritual levels. This must take place before the species can go into a new time cell of consciousness. As the arcs of light begin to change, a different light force is beginning to work with electromagnetic forces. This is causing the magnetic field of the brain cavity to be sufficiently raised to a higher mental frequency, allowing the Enoshites to receive whole light beings upon the reinsertion of the barottary gland and the reactivation of the supreme melanin. It has previously been thought that the light forces of the Earth's magnetic field control the rhythms of life of all biological species, and all living cells need only the light of our own portion of the electromagnetic spectrum to survive. Enoshites will have the brain of an electromagnetic computer and will be forced to adapt to an enlarged electromagnetic spectrum. The new electromagnetic frequency is an astrobiological threshold by itself. Your sun, by virtue of being a variable star, will be seen as having great limitations for future limitations. The Book of the Anti-Kharast of 615-189-193, in order for Enoshites to work with the next electron orbital level of the universal mind, the All, your molecular density level will have to become less dense, and grow more transparent in order to participate in multiply-dimensional realities. Enoshites must be completely remade anew, thus you have Tamaraean, ancient African, new being. Specifically, Enoshites must go through the energy grid, controlling cell division on their biological level of organization. Before the larger electromagnetic change happens, Enoshites will also understand how new growth effects will be the result of electromedicine, which uses electromagnetism. Enoshites, by using the light surgery of electromagnetic penetrations into bone marrow, will be able to create new bone growth. Yet it is very necessary that we warn all members of humanity, especially those of you of the Nubian Melaninite family, being melanin abundant, that the use of drugs such as marijuana, crack, heroin, cigarettes, or the overabuse of alcohol, causes this energy to mutate, causing these energy cells to be destroyed, thus affecting you mentally, physically, as well as emotionally in an adverse and destructive way. The Book of Will, the Life of Enoch 11:117-118, because after the violations in Gone, the enclosed garden in Eden, delight, on the earth realm, many of them strayed and indulged in all forms of intoxicants, claiming that these intoxicants were lawful, because the earth yielded them to Enoshites. Such is the case with the smokers of hashish, cannabis sativa, the cocoa plant, or the 20 and 6 family of Papaveraceae. But what of those plants that are harmful to Enoshites, poisonous? Would a fool partake of them as well? Adifa asked. The answer is yes. The fools amongst the mortals will seek all forms of mental experiences, desiring to evade the mortal daily responsibilities, and even call it religious ritual. Such are the fools, and fools do what fools do.